Welcome.
Hey Camille, so great to see you.
Hello. As folks join, I'm posting a quick survey in the chat. We're, revisiting these webinars to better serve you. So it's only 3 questions. If you could just please take a second to fill it out. And then please let us know who you are, where you're calling in from, and what you offer. I'm just going to take a minute to turn on the transcriptions while we wait for folks to come in.
How is the weather where you are, Camille?
Oh, it's sunny and springtime today. I'm in the DC area, so it is gonna get up to 70s today, which is nice because we've had some rain recently, which has been nice too for the flowers, but just a little gray. How about you, Shannon?
It is sunny here today, and I was thinking, ooh, I might get out to the garden after this as a little treat to myself for my lunch break. I see Donna's here from Wetaskiwin, Alberta. I wonder how the weather is there. Ooh, somebody from New Jersey, central New Jersey.
Yeah,
Sunny but
sunny.
50s.
Donna just wrote us. I apologize if I can only stay for a few minutes. Don't worry. We're going to send a recording to everyone who is registered, so you will get that.
Hey,
Good morning.
Christine
Very.
from Boston. Sorry. Like, ooh,
Oh, it's a -11 cold and snowy here, Donna. Oh, I regret sharing my uh my 70 degrees. And I'm just gonna post again a survey in the chat. Please take a few minutes to fill it out. It's only 3 questions, and this is going to help us understand how we can better serve you with these webinars. So Donna, I'm actually in DC, the District of Columbia, um, uh, Washington in the US, and I'm actually in Hyattsville, Maryland. So technically the suburbs of DC.
nice. Oh, we have someone here from Cuba. Originally
Oh,
from Havana, Cuba, but in snowy Edmonton today. I
oh.
was like, oh. Tell her
And
it's great to see you.
Patricia from Ireland. It's wet here. Surprise, surprise. Yep. Oh, Maryland as well. Hello, Siobhan. Thanks for coming. Here is a survey again. See,
And
oh,
Jill is here as well. So nice to see you here, Jill. Jody from
hello,
Ottawa.
Wendy. So, folks, it's wonderful to see all of you trickle in and introducing yourself. Please continue as I introduce this webinar and kick it off. My name is Camille, and I'm the Partnerships Coordinator at Offering Tree. We are the easy to use all-in-one business solution for wellness entrepreneurs and yoga teachers. So our software puts your classes, your courses, your memberships, and your website all in one easy place. Today for our and we know that technology is a very important part of running a business online, but it's really not the only part. And you need a lot of different elements to grow a successful business. And that's why we offer these free webinars every month. So this is Clarify Your Offering with Shannon Crow. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know, as you have questions, which I hope questions come up, feel free to ask. Please use the Q&A question box. That makes sure that your questions stay separate from the chat, so we make sure we see them and answer them. Use the chat to chat, that's great. The questions go in the question box. We're also really pleased to co-host this webinar today with B Yogi. So, B Yogi has a depth of knowledge and experience in the yoga world, and their yoga insurance program covers you no matter where you are, no matter what style or what kind of offerings you might teach. There's a tie-in to this webinar's topic. And actually, as a member of the Offering Tree community, you have an exclusive discount to B Yogi. So keep your eyes out for that link in your email coming out, and lots of thanks to B Yogi for helping share this webinar. But yes, as I mentioned, different styles of yoga, or wellness, that's something that everyone here today shares, but you might have heard people say to you, oh, that's a crowded market. How are you going to be able to succeed with that? What do you really do? So being clear on what you offer and how that makes you unique is really the foundation to business. And there's no person better qualified to speak about that than friend of Offering Tree, Shannon Crow. She has a podcast, has a membership organization for pelvic health professionals, and I'm just so excited to introduce her. So Shannon, over to you.
Thank you so much, Camille. Thanks for everyone who's here live or watching the replay. I'm really excited about today. And I have some slides to keep me on track. I appreciate your questions. I'll answer all that I can here. Let me know if you can see the slides, Camille. I hope, yep. Okay, good. Thank you. So, uh, welcome. Let's dive right in. I want to fit in as much as possible. I'm really thankful to Offering Tree and Be Yogi and Camille for making this possible and putting this together today, and for all of you being here to dig into your own yoga offerings. And I do want to say one thing before I get started. I was talking with a friend this morning who's a yoga teacher, and she was telling me about the impact that one of her students shared with her, like saying, you know, she supports a large community of mental health workers in our community, in our local community, this person coming to yoga class. And not very often we as yoga teachers know the ripple effect that we have. You know, this person was saying, your yoga classes really helped to keep me grounded and able to do my job well and able to support these hundreds of mental health workers in our community. And that's just one example. And lots of times we don't hear those examples from yoga teachers. So I want to highlight that the reason why I get really excited about this is because you're doing very important work out in the world. Also, I want to introduce me to all of you in case we haven't met before. My name is Shannon Crow. I use she, her pronouns, and I've been practicing over the past month, sharing my social location. And so I apologize if it's a little bit bumpy. It's new to me and I'm here for it. Like, I'm here for practicing. I want to give a shout out to Rauda Rahman for guiding me through this. So what really helps me with practicing this is this wheel of power and privilege. And I think it's great to really acknowledge this as yoga teachers. So I'm a cisgender, middle-class woman living in a white, average-size, able body. I'm a citizen of Canada. I own my home here, which is on native land known as the Bruce Peninsula in Ontario. And this land was cared for the Anishinaabe, Odawa, and Mississauga people long before my ancestors arrived here. I speak English. It's my first language. I went to college. My family does have a history of mental health issues, and so I make sure that I make therapy a priority for me. I'm also a mom of 3, a yoga teacher. I host the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, and I'm the founder of Pelvic Health Professionals. And today we're going to dive right in to talk about creating a specialized offer. So that's niche work. If any of you have met me before, you know that I love to talk about niche work. Setting smarter goals, whether that's 5 years or the next 90 days. Staying focused week to week. That's a challenge that I hear from yoga teachers. Getting more students registered. So as we clarify your offering, that's the main goal here today, is to get more students registered. Choosing just one offering for now, for today, and then how to rinse and repeat this whole thing. All right. So also, I just want to highlight that if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, that moment of, oh my gosh, I need to put this thing out there. I need to be posting on social media. I need to send the email out. I need to invite my students. Or, oh no, my workshop's coming up in a few weeks and I don't have enough registrants. This is what we're digging into today. So I'd love to know in the chat, what are the main challenges that you are feeling right now as you put the details of your offering together and get it out into the world? Is it that you're not getting enough students registered? Is it that you struggle with the marketing side of things? Is it that you are not sure if you're focused on what's actually getting students signed up or what's actually getting the word out there? And one struggle that I know very well is that I don't want to focus just on one thing. I love to do many things. So for me, this choosing just one offering, that can be a personal challenge for me. So I'd love it if in the chat you're looking through this and you think, that's my challenge today. I can't wait to dive into that. Or is it something different? Also, as you have questions come up, let me know. I'll keep an eye on the Q&A and I'll keep an eye on the chat as much as I can. The chat is there for you to chat back and forth to other yoga teachers who are also here today with you as well. So Christine says, keeping students excited about virtual Zoom yoga as the world opens up again and people have Zoom fatigue. Oh, I get this, Christine. I have seen this play out in our pelvic health professionals membership. We just have less people showing up on Zoom than we did, let's say, a year ago. So it is a thing. And so that's a great, I'm glad you highlighted this. So we can, if anyone has any ideas, like how are you helping your students who are dealing with Zoom fatigue? I would say one thing is to, make sure that you have registered sessions so people are paid ahead of time. That's motivating when you've made a commitment and you've paid with your money, your hard-earned money. That's one thing instead of like a drop-in. Okay, Bhakti says, not getting the word out there on zero budget, social media, tech overwhelms me. Ditto on Christine's comment. Tech is super overwhelming. This is why I'm excited that Offering Tree is hosting this. When I put my offerings together online, I love that all of the details part, and we'll get into that today, is right there in front of me. And I need to get those details online, clear in my head. We'll work on that today as well. And that helps with the tech overwhelm. Jody says, hard to know what's really needed or wanted versus what I think most helpful. Also, I tend not to plan far enough in advance, I think. Jody, I love that you shared these because we're going to dig into planning far ahead and also what is really helping your yoga students. Jen says, staying focused and balancing parenting, including during pandemic and all that comes with it, and working. Oh my gosh, I know this struggle very well. Mom of 3, I was a single mom for a big chunk of my yoga teaching career, and it's a lot. So we're going to look at our calendar and how we can stay focused. Jill is saying, I work with anxious students. I'm challenged with using simple, minimal content that will be read. I don't want to overwhelm students. That is such a great awareness right there. And it's reminding me, Jill, I don't want to overwhelm everyone attending today with a ton of information. I've tried to keep my slides really minimal and simple and get the points across. That's a great thing to look at with your content. That's a great awareness. Pia says, stepping back and figuring out a live offering more connected to my membership, figuring out length, how deep to go, how to connect the two. What about beta? Okay, Pia, these are super specific, so keep those in mind as we go. Christine says, yes, all of my offerings are 8-week series, which helps a lot with attendance. That's good to know. Louise says, I guess I haven't clarified an offer yet. I've become fascinated with perimenopause, menopause, time of life, but I've also been keen to stay within the boundaries of yoga rather than spill into things like nutrition. Oh my gosh, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing this. So perhaps zooming in on reducing stress and managing anxiety. I probably need to journal more about ideal client. I have been very stuck. Louise, this is definitely something that I'd love to dig into here today. Focusing in on perimenopause and menopause and how yoga benefits those people is what I want you to really look at. Let's see. Jill is saying ditto to Christine. There's Naleli. I hope I'm saying this right. I offer kids yoga, how to talk to parents so they sign up their kids, right? So knowing it's not kids who you're marketing to, it's parents. These are amazing, everyone. Glenna says offering a series on the divine feminine that is gender neutral. Oh my gosh, Glenna, I don't know if you heard my podcast episode talking about my, or get my email saying that I have some friends who got removed from a class that was divine feminine focused. It was not gender neutral, but I'm going to do more on the podcast soon. Wendy, starting a new business, stand-up paddleboard rental, experiential style with yoga integrated. Main goal is to get people outside and connecting the community with each other and the outdoors. Brand new venture, lots to plan. Hoping Offering Tree will work for me. All of you who are attending here, check out Offering Tree is putting together a beta version for studios. I hope it's okay that I say this here, Camille. And also, they're really listening to you. So if you're wondering, will this work for me? I have been reaching out to the team there saying, like, how do I do this? Is there a function that allows me to do this? And they're very quick to get back to me and let me know, hey, that's already here, or hey, we'll put that on the list. Okay, Lisa saying, I'm focused on menopause yoga as well. Just did my first menopause yoga workshop, kicking off a menopause yoga free challenge online Monday. I really want a good number of participants. Okay. Yes, Camille has put that if you use the discount code offeringtree.com/Shannon, you get a discount, and there's a free 14-day trial on there as well. Amazing. Okay, let's dig into a little bit more here. I'll keep an eye on the chat. Someone's very curious about the rinse and repeat. It's an important thing. All right. So I don't know how you all feel about specializing in niche work. It can be very scary to do it. And I've created this true or false, quick survey that you can do. So the more false answers you have here, or even if there's one or two, it might be time to niche down and specialize. And so let's start. So if you're a new teacher and you're trying out various types of yoga, time studios, and you're teaching to different student groups and you're just getting to know, then it might not be the best time to niche down. But if you've been teaching for a while, it's probably time to niche down. You have to want to niche down and specialize. If you're already like, I'm making great money, I love my schedule, then maybe you don't need to niche down. Are you well known for your specialty and your expertise? This one I want you to get into. Does someone hear about your type of yoga and then either they think, oh, that's for me, or they think of a friend that class or that offering is for? Are you getting referrals? Are students finding you and registering? Do you have to work really hard for your marketing, or is that happening easier? Niching down and specializing will do that. I don't want to focus too much on, because I could do our whole call today on niching down and specializing, but it really does make a difference. So these are questions to ask yourself for sure. And then this would you rather, you can take a screenshot of this right now. You have access to the replay because you're registered. I like to ask these questions to yoga teachers because this starts to get into what is your niche or your specialty based on what will work best for you. So personally, I don't like teaching evenings or weekends as a yoga teacher. I like Monday morning and finding what is the best fit for you will enable you to continue with your schedule, continue to show up, continue with your offerings. So it's really important to start to dig into what ideally would I like to teach. So this is just a list of questions to look at for that. Okay, so who here, and put it in the chat, who here has a specialized offer? Like, what is your niche offering? I heard some of it in the questions and in the chat and in the share. So, with that, who is it for and what problem does it solve? So, one example here is I saw people putting, I work with individuals who are dealing with menopause, perimenopause, and I would dig in even more. So, that's your niche, that's your specialty, yoga for those who are in that perimenopause, menopause stage. But what problem is it solving? And if you're wondering, I don't know, like yoga is great for so many things. What are the problems that people are talking about? We did a great podcast episode with Denite, who has also been a presenter here um, in webinars with Offering Tree. Denite is great at talking about, yes, we need to address the problem right away when we're talking to our yoga students without agitating it. So, for example, people who are in that perimenopause, menopause stage might be having trouble sleeping. So, that might be one of the problems that your yoga helps to solve for these individuals. It doesn't mean that you say to them, you're going to have the worst sleep ever unless you do my yoga class. That would be really agitating someone because already they're having trouble sleeping. But instead, focusing on talking about how yoga can help with sleep. Okay, I love to see all of these in the chat. Lots of you have a specialty. So keep sharing in there. And also, if you're thinking, how do I do this more? Keep asking yourself, what's my niche offering? Who's it for? What problem does it solve? Niche work takes time and it's never over and done. So I'm continuously looking at how I can niche down, and I love talking about it. So I don't want to take our whole call on it, but let me know in the comments if you have specific questions, if niching down is feeling difficult. Okay, the next thing is setting smarter business goals. So I like this framework. We want our business goals as a yoga teacher to be specific. So you want to identify exactly what you want. So for those of you, I'm just going to take Mary as an example. Mary is working on making a membership group for yoga teachers that solves the problem of teachers feeling isolated and disconnected from other teachers. So I'd love to know all of the details, Mary, that make this specific and measurable. And those are things like how many people would be in this membership? Is there a minimum and a maximum? When does it start? When does it open? When do you meet? And that's the measurable part. So all of you who have like a registered session or a yoga class or a workshop, like Bhakti says, chair yoga, then I'd love to know, how can we set a business goal that is specific and measurable in terms of how many people are signing up? And I know that this gets tricky. We're like, well, I would run it if there were 6 people, but I'd really like to have 12. You can go back to that would you rather page that we had. Let me just zoom back there. And I want you to answer that last question. Would you rather teach to 1 person or 6 or 20 or 40 or 100? Like, what is your ideal number of students? Not always are we going to hit that ideal number, but we at least need to know what it is in that measurable and specific way. If you have any questions as I go through, make sure to pop them in the Q&A here so that we keep track of them. And I love the chat that's going on. I just don't want to miss any questions. Okay, so action-oriented, use an action verb. So a different example of this is, some of you might know that I have difficulty with winter. We get a lot of snow where I live here in Canada, and I have a difficult time sometimes in the middle of February when it's a blizzard and I don't want to go outside. So my action verb for that goal that I set, because these don't just have to be for business, we can set goals for our health and well-being as well. My action is walk outside every single day, at such and such a time, makes it specific and measurable. Also, think about something that feels risky. We're more apt to meet that goal when it's on the edge of our discomfort zone. So when I walk outside, when I say to myself, I'm going to do this every single day, to me, that feels like, can I do it? Can I actually do that? Time keyed, we want a deadline. And I like to look at 90-day pieces of time, especially if we're doing something like the walking outside, if it's a habit goal and we're trying to build that habit. So make sure there is a deadline with it. If you set a goal and you say to yourself, okay, I want to, and I'll give you a specific example in a moment. If it's forever for the rest of your life, it can be really difficult to stick to it. So define the deadline for it, even if you would like to continue it. Is it exciting? Is it compelling? Is it getting you excited to do it? And also, is it relevant for this season of your life? Someone here in the chat said they're a busy parent, so it might not be the time to lead a retreat for a month in Mexico. It just might not fit into your life right now. So make sure that it's really fitting in with the season of your life. All right. So an example, and I'd love for all of you to think about this example and then think how you can modify it for your own. You can put it in the chat. You can write it down at home. Share it here if you'd like to. So this is just an example of a smarter business goal. Registered 12 students for my Yoga for Pelvic Health workshop that's going to run, 4 times a year, Mondays from 1 to 4, January 17th, April 18th, July 18th, October 17th. I just picked some dates and some things here at Bright Light Studio. I don't know this yoga studio. But to be so specific so that someone else could check in with this goal. So students will be signed up, payment of $75 2 weeks prior to each workshop. I mean, that feels exciting for me. It feels like it's pushing my edge a little bit. You know, all of you know that yoga students sometimes want to sign up at the very last minute. And in that goal, how are you going to make this happen? So my main marketing channel is email, and the supporting ones are Instagram, Facebook, posters. I'll send a weekly email related to pelvic health every Tuesday. And then when we have supporting channels like Instagram, Facebook, and posters, then we can reuse what we shared in our email, or maybe we have some other new content. So that's an example of a smarter business goal. And you can get even more specific. You can say when you'll write the email, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Does anyone see this and think, oh yeah, this is the way I can create a business goal with my offering? Is that making sense? Or is there any spot that you're feeling stuck with right now as you read this and you think, I'm not sure how to translate this into the offering that I want to put together? So as specific as possible, think about dates, think about numbers, prices, all of the details where a friend of yours could check in and say, do you have this, does your goal have all of these specifics, and did you meet it? Someone could check in with me 2 weeks before January 17th and say, did you get 12 students registered for that workshop? That's how specific we want it to be. Antonia says, super helpful example. Okay, good. Let's see now. Staying focused. Here's the really fascinating thing that I had happen just a couple of weeks ago. I was leading a group of yoga teachers. We have a group program, and we were talking about staying focused and creating your content. And then there was this moment, and I appreciate this so much. I am not making fun of this person. What I love is there was this like light bulb moment where the yoga teacher realized, oh, my content that I'm creating, like my email, my social media posts, need to really connect with my offering. But it was a question, like, do I need to be creating content that is connected to my offering? And they asked it in such a way that you could see they were thinking they already knew the answer to that as soon as they had asked the question, but you could see the light bulb at the same moment. And I think what can be so easy to do is to create content that, let's say, is, you see an inspirational quote on some social media platform and you think, "Oh, I'm going to share this." But we're missing the connect to the offering that we want to share. It might be something about breathing where we've decided, "Oh, I'm really going to focus on menopause, perimenopause, sleep, stress levels, changes that are happening in the body." But then we post this other thing that, let's say it's like about children's yoga or something. Our audience starts to get confused. So let's stay focused. And the way to do that is keep coming back to that goal that we set. What's the goal with our content? And then set your content creation time. So I suggest setting a weekly time for right now, even if it's 5 minutes a week. Set that content creation time. An example is Monday morning, 9 to 10 a.m., I'm going to create my content. Now, that's your emails, that's your your social media posts, and it'll be slow if you are not already in this content creation routine. It'll be slow, but it will slowly build and get easier. And then also part of this staying focused is choose one task a week and one task a day that relates back to marketing your offering. And I want to really highlight here, I do not mean planning the class or the workshop or the course or the membership. I don't mean planning the content that is part of your offering. I mean creating the content that invites people to your offering, tells them about it, gets them to see why it's for them or for someone they know. We are so quick as yoga teachers, myself included, to spend like half a day planning our class and barely any time planning our content that would tell new students about it. So put it on your calendar. Ask yourself, please stick to this. Notice when we're moving away from that, we're wanting to create content. Just notice, ask yourself, please come back to this. This is really important. I can help more people if more people know about it. Okay. Lynn's saying, I'm super challenged with marketing to the mature yogis who don't necessarily use social media. Appreciate recommendations. Okay, Lynn, this is so great. This is a perfect time for this question. I've talked about email and I talked about social media. I want to make sure that your marketing channel is the easiest one. I know a yoga teacher who does zero marketing online. Everything is in person through text messages to existing students. Nothing is online, no email, no social media. They don't make posters either. It's all word of mouth, and their classes are full. So for the mature yogis who aren't on social media, first of all, I'd say, are they on email? If not, how else can you get connected with them? So think about places in your community where those people are hanging out. Where are your people hanging out? This goes for all of us. Even if you had a younger audience, let's say prenatal, those people, if they're not on social media, where else are they hanging out? Or maybe parents of young kids, maybe there's a group in town. So the first thing that we need to ask ourselves, and I'm so glad that you asked this, Lynn, is this place where I'm sharing the content, is this actually connecting me? I'm so glad that you realize this. If your people aren't on social media, you are completely wasting your time posting there, honestly. So I would say, sure, it could be a supporting thing, but where else could you get in front of people? I used to teach yoga to what was called our Women's Institute group. I got asked to teach live. There's another like church groups or community groups. You can volunteer to go and teach in person, business groups in your area. Maybe the farmers market, you can go and do a little demo of your yoga and talk about where your yoga classes are. It depends what the rules are in your community. I hope that is helpful. Okay, great question. All right. So this is part of this. Schmoozing is a great way to attract mature yogis, says Bhakti. It's true. And this friend of mine who does no online marketing at all has a very thriving yoga business. She's just telling people about the benefits of yoga, and then others from her class are also talking about her class. You're welcome, Lynn. I'm glad that was helpful. Okay. Keeping an eye on the time here as well. Get students registered. So make sure that you're not turning off the marketing faucet. So the moment you do that, if you're just thinking, well, I'm going to, focus on creating really great class plans, and then the students who are there will tell other people. Okay, that's still a marketing faucet, sort of. Word of mouth is powerful. But if you literally turn it off and you are not, networking with people in your community, you're not sending out an email, you're not posting to social media, you will see your student numbers go down. And it's so easy to do this. Now, as you get well known in your community for your specialty, you can relax on the marketing faucet. You can turn it down a little bit. Your classes might be full and you might be thinking, I really barely need to market this. And that is what happened when I niched down. I really saw that I didn't need to spend as much time marketing. But if you are not getting people signing up, if you're not getting enough people signing up for your offerings, let's look at the marketing faucet, and then let's also look at, are we filling a leaky bucket? So Lynn's question is great for this. If Lynn said to me, I'm going to make TikTok videos to get my, yoga for elders class up and going, I would be hesitant. I would think, yeah, TikTok's great for our younger yogis, but it's probably that leaky bucket. And that really, same thing if I said, well, I'm going to advertise on Twitter or LinkedIn. You are not going to reach the same audience. Whereas, let's say you were teaching corporate yoga, LinkedIn might be your spot, might be the really great bucket. It's all about experimentation for sure. This is one of those questions that people will say to me, oh, I put this offering out there and it did really well, and now it's not doing well. Are you still marketing it as much as you were that first time that you ran it? We need to keep that going. Okay, Lynn, you asked, is there a metric what a good registration is? Yep, it's all what is best for you. So let's talk about that. I'd love to know in the chat for everyone who's here, would you rather teach to one person, 2 people, 6 people? Like, what is your ideal number of students? If you were getting paid the same amount of money for whoever is showing up, tell me, what's your ideal number of students? And that's your good registration. It's all, when you feel like, oh, this is where I'm at my best as a yoga teacher. For some people, it's working one-on-one. For some people, it's a room full of people. I don't want to teach to 40 people. I feel like I can't serve 40 people. But some people love it. Great question. Louise has a question here. Shannon, I felt very conflicted with marketing. I've been teaching 1 prenatal and 1 postnatal class per week. However, I really want to focus more on menopause, and that's where I'm at. I feel marketing on social media could get really confused as they're different audiences. I'm kind of ready to drop prenatal and postnatal, but it's income. Okay, So, Louise, you are at this spot of niching down where it gets a little tricky, it gets a little muddy. If I had to ask you today, which offering would you rather focus on today? And what one gets you more excited to talk about? I'm not saying, yeah, menopause. You typed it right away. So I'm not saying cancel all of your prenatal and postnatal classes. They're still making you income. Is there a way? I don't want to confuse your audience as well. I get why you're saying this. Sit with this for a moment and think, how does that look? How do I slowly switch to menopause? If that's your passion, what would that look like? You'll know the answer better than anyone else in this. How can you, like, when and how can you let those pre and postnatal classes go if you decide to? You do not have to, but you already know, okay, that there's this, like, I'm excited about menopause. I want to teach that. I want to be talking about that and learning more. And that will definitely come through with your marketing. So choose the season that you're in right now. If you can start to switch, what does that look like? It's so hard when I can't ask you questions like through audio, but keep sharing your thoughts here, either in the chat or in the Q&A. Okay, so I love that people have put their, like, the ideal number of students, all the way from 1 student to 12 to 24. I'm going to ask those of you who have a range, like 10 to 15, 1 to 15, what's holding you back right now from choosing a number? Especially the ones that have 1 to 15 or 1 to 20. And I am challenging you here because I know what this feels like. You think, well, 1 student is fine. 15 is also great. I want to know, if you woke up in the morning and you knew that you were walking to teach this number of people, it would be your ideal number. And so I wonder, can you put just one number on there? Okay, Glenn is doing it. 12, 10. Yay. All right. Do you see why I'm digging in here? Because if it's 1 to 15, that's a very different offering. How do we market that? 1 to 1, we can market and get paid the same as a class full of 15 people, but we really do need to know what is best for us as a teacher. 20 to 25, I'm going to let you put that there, Jill. Yeah. And Antonia, I get why you're saying that. I enjoy and learn from my one-on-one, the private sessions, in a group setting up to 20. So some of you are like, well, I offer both. I teach one-on-one, but I also like to teach up to 20. I get it now. Wendy's saying 5. See the difference of when we choose, okay, it's going to be this one number, and that's what helps us to set what's that ideal registration, and also to set our price. Your hourly rate should be the same whether you're teaching 1 person or 45 people. I hope that's helpful. Okay. Keep letting me know if you have questions, and we're going to roll along here. Let me get everything else out of my way here. So choose one offering. So for today, just for today, focus on one offering. And is your content related to your goal? Remember that business goal of how many people we wanted registered, and that very specific goal. Is our content that we're putting out there, is it related to that? And is it also related to our offering? This is one of the hardest things for yoga teachers, to choose one thing. And I do not mean cancel everything else and call those classes off. I want to talk about creating your content and marketing. Can you talk about just this one offering and the many different things that go along with it? Because like we said, with menopause, you could talk about sleep, you could talk about the symptoms of menopause and how yoga helps. There are so many pieces of that we could talk about. So yeah, choosing one offering is is really key. And once you get this going, you can do that again with a different offering. I'm not saying forever in your whole life you can only talk about one offering. What I see happening though is a yoga teacher will have a retreat, a weekly class, and a course. And I have done this and I still do this. I will try and market them all and it's just not effective. If in the next 90 days you could really focus in on one offering, think of the difference you could make with that offering, how you could fill it to where you wanted it to go. You could rinse and repeat, we'll talk about that soon, and then fill the next one easier. Then you could see, okay, I'm going to add in this other offering. It's also super confusing for our audience. And one person already said that in the chat. Like, what if I have been talking to pre and postnatal and then I want to switch to menopausal people? That is confusing. We want to make sure that when people think of us, they think, oh yeah, that teacher specializes in this thing. Okay. Antonio asks, can you say more about the hourly structure of one-on-one and group? So this is a whole other webinar of like how to set your hourly rate. But let me see if I can answer it quickly. So first of all, it depends on how long you've been teaching and all of the training that you have. But I want you to look at what is a massage therapist charging in your area? What's an osteopath charging? What is the fee for a private swimming lesson or a private singing lesson? That is where I want you to start. And then if you're thinking, well, that can't be my hourly rate, it needs to be more. I'm thinking of so there's a really amazing therapist in our local area. Most of the therapy here, like talk therapy, would cost you around $100 to $120. And this therapist that I know charges $279 an hour. So some people might think, oh my gosh, that's way out of my price range. Well, guess what? She's booked solid. She's booked months in advance. And she's really amazing at what she does. So you set your hourly rate. There's no magic formula, but definitely make sure it's in line with the other professionals in your area, in line or higher than that. Is that helpful, Antonia? And then in that, if you're teaching one-on-one, that's your hourly rate. And if you're teaching to a group, it's also the same rate. And then you can divide it by how many people are there. And the benefit for the one-on-one people who that's what they want is they have your full undivided attention. Group people know, hey, I get a little bit of a break, but other people are going to be taking the attention of the teacher as well. Okay. All right. I hope that's helpful. So offering details. Fill these details in, and please note that there is no question here asking you what's the title of your offering yet. Let's not even focus on that. That can really trip us up. So who here knows the answer to these things? And feel free to put it in the chat or take a screenshot of this or jot these down. So when is your offering happening? Date, time, all the details of when. Who is it for? How is it helping those people who sign up? What's the minimum that you need to run this offering? And what's the maximum that you would take? And also, maybe you just go right for, I knew what my ideal number is. That's what I'm aiming for. That's probably your maximum. But your minimum is thinking, would I run this? If I really wanted 6 people, would I run it for 5 people? Maybe. Play around with those numbers and really ask yourself what's best for you. Where is it happening? Is it online? Is it in person somewhere? How much does it cost? I know that this one trips us up, so let's leave it near the end of setting the price of this. And how do people sign up and register? And this is where I love putting my offerings into Offering Tree, because it's going to ask me for these details. Do not fill the title in first. Let the pieces of this create the title. So who is it for? How is it helping those who sign up? Make it really simple. yoga teachers sometimes want to make their offerings um, sound really creative. I'm trying to think of, like, they'll use Sanskrit words in the title, which most yoga students don't know, or I'm trying to think. Like, here's an example of how simple is better. One of my offerings was called Yoga for Hips and Shoulders. It did really well. People knew I have shoulder pain, I have hip pain. This is the yoga offering for me. So, how can you help the people who are signing up and who's it for? Um, and then see if you can pull that into the name. Okay. So rinse and repeat your offering. Instead of jumping to the next new and exciting thing and thinking, I'm serving my students if I offer them something new and exciting each and every time, honest to goodness, offer it again. I did an 11-week yoga for pelvic health session. I felt like we covered so much in that 11 weeks. And at the end, I kind of thought my students would want something new. So I knew I kind of felt like I had this choice of, do I offer the same thing again, but I have to find all new people? But guess what? My students were ready to sign up again for another 11 weeks of something we'd already done. And they were not saying, oh, we already did this. I, made small tweaks and adjustments to it as I went. And they loved it. So, of course, they wanted to sign up again. Think of how you might take a dance class and you learn the same dance over and over again, and we develop a comfort level with that. So you don't need to recreate the wheel all over again. This part here, someone said, getting it on the calendar is the struggle. Could you take this offering and look at your calendar the whole year and think, how many times could I offer this? What would it look like if I rinse and repeat the same offering over and over again? And how often, ideally, would you like to share it? So if you lead a workshop and you think, gosh, could I do this every single month? Do you want to do that? Could you make it just a quarterly workshop and adjust the price to fit what you need to make for your income? Yeah. So that's the rinse and repeat. So here's your homework. I love to give homework. So focus on one specialty offering. Set smarter goals for that. So 1 to 3 goals per quarter is what I aim for personally in my life. I want one of those goals that you set to be focused on your business, your offering that you want to share. And then if that's going well, you could add another goal that's like your yoga practice, you're walking outside, calling a friend once a month, other things that are more life goals. Oh, I did want to tell you, I did a whole podcast series, and I think Camille said that they can link to this in the offering tree will link to it in the email that goes out after. If you go to the connectedyogateacher.com/250, that starts this framework where I really go through this each and every year, and I shared it on the podcast. It's a 4-part framework, and I talk more about goals and setting those goals and kind of the 4 areas of importance as well related to those goals, so that we're looking at 5 years down the road and then the next 90 days. And then, okay, what's happening this week? What's happening this day? So 1 weekly task and 1 daily task that's related to your offering. Is that happening in your calendar? We can just dive into work and we'll be checking our email. I do this. But then I might forget, oh, right, I had to send out that email to market that offering. So let's make sure that it's on our calendar. Create content weekly to market your one offering, and then repeat this offering. Also, please remember your yoga practice, whatever that is, if it's sitting outside in nature, doing meditation, some breath work, it doesn't have to be an hour-long yoga class. Your routine, maybe it's daily, maybe it's weekly, whatever it ends up being, that's your fuel. That's your fuel for your content, as well as your just overall well-being. So don't forget the yoga part of all of this. And I'd love to hear, do you have questions for me? It could be related to this, it could be completely separate from this. I'd love to hear your questions. Camille, it's nice to see your face again. Let me stop this share. Who has questions? Who's feeling like, oh yeah, now my offering is more clear, or here are the questions that I still have for it? I'd love to know. You can put it, oh, we've got something in the Q&A. Yeah, I love questions. Okay, Alessandra says, does Offering Tree allow you to create a membership group that provides both live options and pre-recorded content? 100%. So I did a group program and used Offering Tree. So I got people to register and sign up for it. And then what I love now is you can put in your, like the replay in there, and that way people can go back and watch that. I put notes in there. I put PDFs in there. I've used other membership platforms, and I love what Offering Tree is creating now. They're really like moving up quickly, where I'm actually considering, will I be switching one of my memberships over to Offering Tree? So definitely. I don't know if you have more to offer on that, Camille, around memberships.
Not much, to just answer that question, that yes, you can create your memberships to give those members access to live offerings and a library of content. So both of those things can be connected to your membership. And then when your members log in, they'll be able to see that all in their My Access section. So it's easy for you and easy for your members.
Yes. Also, the Zoom integration and time zones is what really will save you as well when people sign up for something that is live. That's what I love. Lynn says, thank you, Shannon and Camille. You're welcome. Thank you for being here, Lynn. Thanks for your great questions. Glenna says, could you say more about a gender neutral series on the divine feminine and your friend's experience? Sure. So the short story is, and I will do a podcast on this, is two of my friends, one, she's a yoga teacher. He's her supportive partner, and a yoga practitioner, went to a divine feminine workshop. This was years ago. He was the only man in the workshop, but he was used to being that. And then there was nothing in the description that said that you couldn't be a man and attend. Right at the start of the class, he got asked to leave, and they both left, and they both felt really like, what just happened? And they both thought that they could attend a class because we all have feminine qualities within us. Like, that was their understanding of it. And so I think it's really important to look at our language. I've had to look at this on the podcast. I recorded an episode saying, like, mistakes are part of learning, the mistakes that I have said with my language. So I can definitely provide a link. Well, basically, if you went to theconnectedyogateacher.com, under resources, we have like social justice or something like that. There is a whole series that we've compiled together of podcasts that are all around, the language that we use around gender or accessibility, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of those topics. I'm glad you asked, Glenna. And if you have more questions about it, like, reach out in our Connected Yoga Teacher group, our Facebook group. You can post and say, like, hey, I've created this and I'm working on my gendered language. I had to do this with my own, I had a prenatal yoga teacher training, and I took it out all the gendered language that really didn't need to be there. Bhakti, you mentioned the word beta. What is that, and how do you use this? So I'm guessing that you're referring to the beta studio offering that Offering Tree has. So it's just that it's a new, it might have, that must be what it is that I was talking about. You go ahead, Camille. You know more about this.
I'll just say we're using the term beta because it is new, and we are planning to add more features. And people who are using our beta tools will also get customized beta pricing, as opposed to typically in software, there's one pricing, or if you have a discount link. For beta, because it implies we'll continue to evolve it, You'll get special pricing for joining our business plan with Studio Tools now. So just a marketing clarification.
It's so good. And I love that there's a kind of a beta price, but it's the full featured, it's what
Yes.
studios are going to get. And then also that's when a company like Offering Tree is really listening to your feedback. So yeah. Mary says, thanks for the motivation, just the push I needed to keep going forward. Mary, I want to say to this, we all feel like, oh gosh, who am I to offer this? Is this something that people are going to need? And we can for sure ask those questions. Do I have the proper training? Am I within my scope of practice? But really, just know that we all feel that, like, oh, that fear that pops up when we go to put something new out into the world or we go to market it in some way. Do we have time
We
for another
are
question?
probably have time for one last question.
Okay. Alessandra says, my focus is restorative yoga for women. I want to offer a 4-week program that's like a jumpstart your practice, but I'm having a challenge languaging the offer. So we know that it's restorative yoga for women. I would ask Alessandra, what is the problem that you are solving for these people? So this is one of the most common things that yoga teachers will say. They'll call it restorative yoga or yoga nidra or vinyasa yoga, and students don't even know what that means. So I would ask yourself, is it only for women, which is totally fine if you're doing a women's only offering? Is that your person? Is that your ideal audience? And then how is it helping them? So this is a jumpstart your practice. Like, I like that better than restorative yoga, but and then in the description you can talk about this is the type of yoga where we barely leave the floor, where you can bring your pillows and your blankets and have it really rest your body. Describing restorative yoga, because lots of people have no idea what that is. I hope that's helpful. And then again, if you're having a challenge languaging the offer, you might want to post in the Connected Yoga Teacher group and ask this question and tag me if you can in there, and I can help once you get that down. All right, I'm glad that was helpful.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Shannon. Thank you so much to everyone who's here or watching the replay. I just shared our quick 3-question event survey one more time in the chat. So on your way out the door, please click that link and help give us some feedback so we can make these webinars serve you better. We're so happy you all came. Keep an eye out for the replay coming soon, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Camille. It was so
Bye.
great to see everyone here. Bye-bye.